After you committed your first murder, what was the emotional effect on you? What happened in the days after that?
Well, again, please understand that even all these years later, it is very difficult to talk about it, and reliving it through talking about it is difficult to say the least. But I want you to understand what happened. It was like coming out of some kind of horrible trance or dream. I can only liken it to after, I don't want to over-dramatize it, but to have been possessed by something so awful and so alien, and then the next morning wake up from it, remember what happened, and realize that basically, in the eyes of the law, certainly in the eyes of God, you're responsible. To wake up in the morning and realize what I had done, and with a clear mind and all my essential moral and ethical feelings intact at that moment, absolutely horrified that I was capable of doing something like that.
What was the purpose of the altar going to be?
As a sort of memorial. A point where I could, I don't know, it's so bizarre and strange, it's hard to describe. A place where I could collect my thoughts and feed my obsession.
When the bodies were still in your apartment, there was no time when you would see them and say, this is grotesque, what have I done?
There were times, but the compulsive obsession with doing what I was doing overpowered any feelings of revulsion.
Hello, this is Carlos from the Church of Christ channel. Please subscribe. There are some things that I want you to notice on the Ruthless acts before we get to the Bible part. Number one, there was a compulsion to do evil that is often hidden at first, okay? Number two, even when confronted with morals, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if they was confronted with morals or they was confronted with the things of God, of righteousness. It didn't matter, okay? The third thing is they committed the act as if morals didn't matter. They just went right into doing the acts, even though they knew what they knew previously, okay? And this is not really to get on Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy. It's just an example. We can all do ruthless acts when we do wrong and commit sin. We may not go to the extent of murder, but when we sin and do things to people, we can be very ruthless, knowing what God has already said. But in this case, I mean, we're talking about murder also with the Bible story. So 2 Kings, okay, chapter number 8, okay, we're going to begin with verses number 7, okay. And Elisha came to Damascus, okay, this is part of the Syrian Empire, and Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, was sick. And it was told, saying, the man of God is coming hither. And the king said unto Hazael, take a present in thine hand, and go meet the man of God, and inquire of the Lord by him, saying, shall I recover from this disease? So he's telling him, his right-hand man Hazael, to go to the man of God, Elisha, and ask if he was going to recover from the disease. So Hazael went to meet him, and took a present with him, even of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camels burden, and came and stood before him, and said, thy son Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, has sent me to thee, saying, shall I recover of this disease? Okay, and listen to what Elisha says and did. And Elisha said unto him, go say unto him, thou mayest certainly recover. Howbeit the Lord has showed me that he shall surely die. Okay, so he's saying he may certainly recover, but God is showing him that he will surely die. And he settled his countenance, so he fixed his gaze steadfastly until he was ashamed. Okay, so basically you have Elisha looking at Hazael with a stare, and then Hazael was ashamed, and the man of God wept. So so basically Elijah started crying, and Hazael said, "Why weepest thou, my Lord?" And he said, look at what he said, "Because I know the evil that thou wilt do unto the children of Israel. Their strongholds wilt thou set on fire, and their young men wilt thou slay with the sword, and wilt dash their children, and rip up the women with child." So he's going to do terrible acts to the Israel. Okay? He's going to kill pregnant women. He's going to rip them open. He's going to kill children. He's going to kill young men. Listen to what Hazael said. "But what is thy servant, a dog?" So he's calling himself a mere dog, that he should do this great thing. So he's asking this question as though, I'm not finna do that. But God already showed him that he was going to do that. And then Elisha answered and said, "The Lord has showed me that thou shalt be king over Syria." Okay, so now look at what Hazael does, in the last two verses. "So he departed from Elisha and came to his master, who said to him, What said Elisha to thee? And he answered, and he told me that thou shouldest surely recover." But he didn't tell him the other part, that Elisha told him that he was still going to die. He just told him he was going to recover from the disease. And look at what happened. "And it came to pass on the morrow that he took a thick cloth, dipped it in water, and spread it on his face, so that he died. And Hazael reigned in his stead." So, first off, we saw ruthless acts was a compulsion to do evil that's often hidden. Okay? This man, Hazael, had the compulsion to do what was wicked. All right? He had the compulsion. And you don't know about it really at the beginning of the story, but it was hidden. Okay? Number two, it says, even when confronted with morals, it didn't matter. So Elisha was the man of God. He, went to this man. He told him, "Hey, look, he asked him a question. Hazael asked Elisha a question. Elisha said, he was definitely going to recover, but the Lord is showing me that he's still going to die." Okay? And then Elisha weeps. He cries. And Hazael asked him, "What's wrong?" And Elisha told him, "I know the evil you're going to do." And even confronted with that, he still asked the question, how, I'm a dog. How could I do such a great thing? Knowing in the back of his mind he was going to do it. And then number three, he committed the act as if morals didn't matter. And so he took the next day. Not only did he keep from the king everything that Elisha said, but then he took a cloth, made it thick in water, suffocated this man until he died. And then Hazael reigned in his stead. Now, God automatically knew that Hazael was going to be king, of course. And then he would go on to commit those ruthless acts that Elisha talked about to him, killing pregnant women, all those things. But this is just the psychology of ruthlessness, of ruthless acts, okay? And it's just not caring about, people. Now, like I said, the clips were just an example. It's not to, get on those guys. I mean, because they died. But Anybody has the capacity to be ruthless. Maybe not to the degree of, like, let's say a murderer or something like that. But we've all done things to hurt other people and not care. Okay? So that's what I'm trying to point out, is that we have to watch ourselves, really get in the word, really examine ourselves, really take responsibility for the things that we do. And when we do that, okay, we'll be better people. This is Carlos from the Church of Christ channel, signing off.